That's when you know it's a God-given gift. You're always excited about it regardless of who you're doing it for because you get that energy level and that spark from just doing. That is the difference between a gift, a God-given gift, and a talent. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another session of Strategies for Creatives. And today we are talking about premature development. Let's brainstorm. All right, so what does premature development actually mean? This is something that I kind of coined from a creative perspective, and you can say it is an individual utilizing their talent way too early. I have definitely done that before. That means I have been trying to do business or try to take on clients or try to develop specific skills and abilities and use them for other individuals rather than taking time to develop them on my own. I have seen this happen one too many times, specifically with business. And the second one is in churches. People being rushed to the pulpit or being asked to play instruments or being asked to do things with their creative talents and abilities way before they should because no one has either vetted them or asked them, are they comfortable yet in order to produce from their actual God-given gift. These things take time. I can remember several times being asked to do certain things in the church, and I was doing them out of my own strength, and I was trying to figure them out on my own time and capabilities, and I felt rushed. You have to be able to say something and stand up for yourself and say, like, hey, I'm not ready yet. Or this is where you now have mentorship and now you are a protege or you're taken under somebody else's wing to figure out when you're really ready. This is something key. Having a coach and having someone being able to show you what to do rather than you trying to wing it. And you winging it is premature growth. So your seed is still literally in the ground and it haven't sprouted yet. Your creativity hasn't shown up yet really. They might seem, small nuances or little flickers of what it might be, but until you have cultivated that thing and it really makes sense to you, that's when you know you have something that actually is fruit. And how you know it's fruit is when you're comfortable in that creativity, you're comfortable in that talent or that skill set or that gift, and you can now produce without feeling pushed. And when you're pushed, that's the problem. Most of the time when people are pushed, they feel uncomfortable, they're uneasy, and I get having a slight nudge to kind of push you in the right direction. But I'm talking about when you're trying to do it out of your own strength and you're really not ready yet. And you know it internally. See, that's one of the problems is when you know it internally and you're not willing to say something, you're not willing to convey that information to those that you're working with, or now you're being depended upon to do a certain thing or have responsibilities. Here's the problem with that. Now people are dependent on you. So now you're getting added pressure for an area or an environment that you are not ready for. We've seen it multiple times in the Bible. We've also seen it multiple times in life, and we've definitely seen it in business. If you just watch any type of CNN or et cetera, where these businesses are getting started and they're flopping, or people are pushed into creating music or being arts, really working their crafts too early, getting signed to these record labels, and they're not ready, and they get one hit wonders, or they might have one good album and then now they can't produce anymore. Why? Because they haven't spent enough time with their craft and gifts and abilities, and it's flopped. That is a skill set. That is a moment in time when an individual is spending time to cultivate real gifts. Real gifts are not always seen. And that's what we also have to understand. Real gifts are usually the foundation of where the seed is planted. So that means good ground, good soil, good cultivation, good areas to be equipped in an environment. So that means you got to have good character. You got to be in a place where you can be watered. And you also have to be in a place where someone is going to give you the nourishment and the nutrition that you need in order to establish good fruit and good growth. Good growth and good fruit comes with time. So that means you have to be planted in a position for a long, extended period of time, and you might not be seen. And this is why I said when it comes to churches, that We are appointing and anointing and pushing people to be in certain positions because what we're doing is we're trying to cultivate something that we desire rather than letting them sit and being okay with the environment without specific individuals being there. I can't stress it enough how important it is to learn how to glean from someone else, to pay attention and see how to play, like the Bible says, skillfully. And when you look at other individuals in the Bible, like artisans, like Bezalel, he was skillful at creating. He was skillful with his hands. He was the chief artisan for the Ark of the Covenant, for the temple and the tabernacle being built. He had the capability because over time, being in Egypt, he developed his skill. That's where you have to pay attention. How long have you really been sitting with your craft? Because I know for me, a lot of times people would say, because I was skillful with my hands, oh, well, you're really good at it. Well, to be honest, I've been drawing since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. Consistently. I was not pausing. I was not putting down my craft. I did not pick it back up again. I was literally consistent with drawing over times. I'm 38 now. And I still draw, I still sketch, I still paint, I still sculpt, I still do all those things with my hands, and I just transition it over to another skill set. Now it's applicable to digital applications and products, and now I do, UX and design thinking and all those sorts of things. But it started with the foundational piece. It started with understanding how to interpret. It started with being consistent. So when you're consistent over the period of time, that's going to help you understand what your gifts really are. So I have a thought that there's three different areas. You have God-given gifts, you have talents, and then you have skill sets or abilities. So your God-given gifts are something that you do innately. No one can take that from you. It'll always be there. No one can, remove that gift because God gave it to you. It's literally a gift. When you start thinking of talents, this might sound a little skewed, but I see them slightly different from God-given gifts. I see those things as something that you can gain over time or you can pick up. Good example of that for me, I'm not a barber by trade. I picked up cutting hair because I saw a need and I couldn't afford to go to the barbershop. So I literally started cutting my hair. And over time, I got skilled with cutting hair and I started getting clients and I was traveling and going to people's houses and cutting hair. And I was pretty good at it. Now, did I want to become a barber and I was trying to take that skill beyond that? No, it stopped with just another layer of a talent because I was skilled with my hands. So when you think about the talents that you can possess, it can be a multiple amount of things. But what God gives you innately is what you cultivate that allows you to add more talents to your repertoire. That is like your crayon box, your tool shed, your toolbox, something you can pull from, and now you have all these gifts and abilities. When you think of business, a CEO might not do R&D, but they might be good with administration. They also might be good with management, with finance, with understanding structure and systems. Those are all talents that you can gain over time. But one thing that they might have as far as a God-given gift is probably their speech, ability to deliver information, be able to understand things on a deeper scale. That might be a gift. For me, my gift is interpretation. Someone can give me an idea, they can tell me about their business, concept, thought, and I can interpret not just from what they said, but I can see also the end point and the end goal, and that's where my excitement comes from. That's when you know it's a God-given gift. You're always excited about it regardless of who you're doing it for because you get that energy level and that spark from just doing. That is the difference between a gift, a God-given gift, and a talent. A talent, you might put it down, you might get some excitement from it, or it might be joyous at certain times. But at the end of the day, you can put it down. And then the last thing is skills. Those things are what I consider cultivating your talent and cultivating the God-given gift. Meaning, I do well with typing, or I pick up the capability of learning and I've studied and I've paid attention to how to communicate. Those are skills, soft skills, right? Or being able to have good terminology or vernacular. Those are things that can be learned. Skills are things that you can learn over time that help your talent, that ultimately fuel your gift. That's the way I look at it. So if you think about it, whatever God gave you, You can add to it with talents, and then you can become a master by being skilled. And when you say skilled, when you look at terminology in the Bible, translation from skill is actually wisdom. So you actually have wisdom in the area and the environment of your skill, of your talent, and of your gift. So how wise are you in those areas? Most of the time we see this in sports, we see this in entertainment, we see individuals that we put on pedestals and we are in awe and, relegate them to a certain level or try to put them on a podium at a certain level. But what they're really saying is, I'm skilled in the area that God blessed me in. I'm skilled in the area and I added talents, I added gifts, and I added soft skills, hard skills, discipline, and I've cultivated something. And now you see the fruit on my tree. So if you take a basketball player, for instance, or a football player, or any sports figure for that matter, and you try to put them in a playoff position and they haven't cultivated their gifts and they haven't done all the things necessary, you will not see them get to the end goal. You will not see them win championships because the cultivation, the discipline, the scenarios, the information necessary, the time that's required is not premature. It's mature, meaning the fruit is now on display and people can glean from it and they see the actual development of what's being produced. I remember doing this several times in business where I would start something, I would be in it, I would feel like God blessed me with it. In all actuality, it was a door, but I was not prepared for the door. Meaning, God opened the door, but somewhere along the line, I stopped preparing. I stopped putting my best foot forward. I stopped reading. I stopped studying. I stopped building my skills and my talents in order to be prepared for that thing. And then when I got into it, I thought I could just rush it and figure it out, which caused a tremendous amount of headache. I did this with my first business. I was doing a lot of consulting and freelance design stuff, and that flopped. I did it again doing t-shirt apparel. That flopped as well, trying to do stuff on the fly and fulfill orders as I was learning how to do silkscreen. Terrible idea because I was immature with the process and not being mature enough to give quality products to individuals that wanted to support me. This can be extremely dangerous when it comes to business because now your name's on the line. Now they're looking at you like, oh, well, you said you could produce and now you can't. And now you start looking like mud, and it's very difficult to clean up a bad name. It's very difficult to backtrack and rectify so many things. This is why you have cancel culture. This is why so many business pay attention to social media and comments and people adding, making posts, because it is very critical for you to keep a quality name at all times, because one moment can cause your entire amount of fruit that you have on display to look rotten. And that could be easily jacked up over a long period of time and a short amount of time as well, because all it takes is one post and it's over. So when you think about how quality you want to be and how mature you want to be, you want to make sure whatever you're doing makes sense and you're ready, you're prepared. Now, being mature and not being premature, I'm not saying that you have to figure everything out. I'm saying that you have to have enough information and be confident enough to produce. Now, every fruit on a tree is not already ripe, is not created and finished at its, maximum state for every last fruit on the tree. But there is a season where everything is created and should be ready for harvest. So now you have to ask yourself, is everything on my tree ready for harvest for people to come and glean from? Or am I still premature and they're going to get sour grapes, sour apples because they're picking it too soon, and whatever seeds inside of that for production cannot be utilized. So that's the one thing that you got to understand. And this is one thing I want to kind of push, and I hope you get from this part, is whatever you're doing, it has to be duplicated. So it should not be a one and done. I mentioned before some of the artisans, people making music, being one hit wonders, all that kind of stuff. This is not that type of environment. This is not what you want out of your creativity and your talents and skill set, to be a one hit on anything. You want to be able to produce at a maximum capacity and be able to duplicate yourself. This is not just about finances. This is about being excellent in your craft, and this is about being able to produce things for other people to see and glean from so you become iconic. You do not become a moment in time or you become a liability. You are iconic. You are an asset to the world. You are an asset to your family. You are an asset to everybody you come in contact with. That is key. So, in order to be an asset, you got to be duplicative. That is a great example of what Christ did in the Bible. He literally duplicated himself as far as discipleships are concerned. I like to consider this in business. You should be discipling everybody in your company to be a form of you, right? At its best state. So that means proper fruit, not rotten fruit, and then now you create more rotten fruit. I'm talking about proper development so they can now exemplify what your business should be over a long period of time. So when I think about all of this productivity and what's really important about producing at your maximum level is your creativity can't be subpar. Meaning you have to work that muscle of creativity and it has to make sense. So you're not running around here doing everything. And when you're mature, you're focused. You're only doing what's related to you. You're not all over the place. I've been there a ton of times trying to jump around. I figured I'd do this, I'd do something else, and oh yeah, I want to do this at the same time. No, the best thing you can do at any given level, if you're trying to duplicate yourself, is to focus on one item, one aspect. You might have similarities, again, those talents and those skill sets, but they should all funnel in to one thing. If they do not funnel into one thing and they become distractions, you now know you're being premature and you are very immature in your growth step and your growth state and your growth steps, because your steps should go to the maximum capacity and the proper fruit you want to give to other people. I would hate to get something from somebody else and it's a half-baked cake or it's an unfinished product. People give it out all the time. And why they do that is because they're rushing the process. They don't want to take all the steps. You'll hear from Mark Zuckerberg and Bezos and Elon Musk and all these individuals that are these large figures in business, and they all say the same thing. You can't skip steps. So when you skip steps, you will miss something. You will try to jump because you're either frustrated with your position, don't want to do anymore for a multitude of things, right? And now you just want to get to the end goal and you want to get to the end game, and now everybody's on the same playing field. That's not how it works in business. That's not how it works entrepreneurship. That's not how it works on a job for 9 to 5. And it definitely is not how it works for Christ. So a few action steps you could take with you. First and foremost, you need help. You cannot do this on your own. There is no way that you can grow on your own, be productive on your own, and produce on your own. You need God. You need somebody to water you, which you can't do it on your own, right? You need some type of gardener, somebody to look over you, especially when you're in seed form. So you have to be dependent on your environment, and you can't just be dependent on yourself alone. No seed can grow by itself. It needs to be planted. It needs the natural environment to support all of its needs and requirements for production. If you don't have that, you're dead in the water, and it's always going to be tough to get anything that you desire in life to be maximum and be productive. The second thing, I mentioned it, you need a gardener. So who is around you that can be a coach, supportive, helpful, assist, and giving you what you need in order to maximize your capabilities and pinpoint some of the areas that you can grow in a little bit better, or you might need support in systems even better, right? There might be things that need to happen on your day-to-day, books you might need to read, things you might need to study, a better process for even sleeping, eating, all of those things come into play. And when you have somebody that's coaching or someone that can be supportive or an individual that is accountable, they'll be able to pinpoint some of those things for you, and you won't be doing it on your own. You'll be supported by another individual that you can trust. And the last thing is stewardship. You have to steward your gift, you have to steward your talent and your skills, meaning don't waste them. Know when to put them in play and know how to put them in play. That comes with maturity. That comes with, processes, testing things out. Do it in your alone time. Don't put your talents and gifts on display. And then now you hurt not just yourself, but you hurt others and you risk your name. That is a big thing. Don't risk your name being premature because you're running after the bag, you're running after fame, you're running after fortune, you're running after something that has nothing to do with you learning how to cultivate and be mature. And the last thing I'll leave you with is know what you need. That's going to take time because everybody's different. And the moment that you don't pay attention to that, you run the risk of grabbing anything. This is going to go back to focus. When you're focused, you'll be very, very adamant, I'll say that, about whatever you need, and you won't gravitate toward things that aren't going to help you or assist you, that actually will do you more harm than good, and you'll find it very problematic because at the end of the day, you can't do nothing about it and it's going to hurt you in the long run. Your productivity is the most important thing. And honestly, if you have some other reason of why, make it a deep reason of why, not something surface level. All the surface stuff fails and it fades really quick. But a deep reason of why is going to help you propel yourself to the reason of productivity and not being premature, but mature so others can glean from what you have. So if you thought that video was helpful and you got something from it, do me a favor and like and subscribe. I am definitely going to be coming out with more content that is free. So PDFs, downloads, links that's going to support not just your creativity, but figure out where your talents are, where your gifts are, and how you can leverage them, not just for yourself, but for others as well.